You're not even realizing it. But the end thing that he finally brought up to me and realizing was the fact that I didn't believe in me. That I still wasn't believing that I was a person that people wanted to hear or to be with. That I was still feeling like this little child back in grade school who felt unaccepted, and there I was. You don't know the story of my life in grade school. They were mostly all Polish children there, Carl.
Oh no!
and we were the only non-Polish family, except there was another one. There was 2 non-Polish families in this all-Polish community. The school literally had to change from teaching in Polish to English because of us. Now you can see a little bit of, we don't want you in here.
Yeah.
So anyhow, things had to change because of us. And I was little for my age and started wearing glasses at 2nd grade. And then I could sing, and I was real smart. It was a setup for put me down and make fun of me because they were just, anyhow. So I was still carrying this, and I didn't realize it. And God had to really root it out of me. And I had to start believing in myself, he's saying. And that's one of the things, the reason why Arkansas Catholic is now contacting me, because I sent them a thing about the radio show saying, would you please announce this? Would you please put this in the paper? And I also sent them a little blog like I do over the emails, Carl, to put in, just like editor to the paper. And I'm going to get some business cards made. And, it's time for me to start believing that this is a show that God uses.
Yeah.
And he does.
Yeah.
He does. I was listening to the show, the very last show we did, and this is a neat story. I just love this. Remember last week when Linda died, I was telling you how I was telling the family that Linda was being set free from her cocoon and that she can now fly, Linda fly, and that I'd been seeing butterflies since then. And while I was listening to the show, I was straightening up my desk drawer that's right under my computer, and I absentmindedly picked up a tangled mess of a piece of jewelry, chain that was all wrapped up around, of all things. Here we're going to get into sacramentals again because we were talking about them last week. But it's I don't know if you've ever heard of something called a rosary ring, where it's the thing you put on your finger, and it's got 10 little knot thingies on it and a little crucifix so that you can be reciting your prayers while you're, driving or something like that. Well, this piece of jewelry was all tangled up in it, and I'm listening to the show, and I'm painstakingly, carefully taking it apart, and I'm listening to the part about Linda and butterflies, and all of a sudden I looked down and I said, oh, my gosh, the jewelry was a butterfly necklace. It was literally a butterfly hanging on this chain that somebody had given me, a friend of mine, and I'd forgotten all about it. And there it was, all tangled up on a rosary ring. And as I was looking at it, and I was thinking, well, hello, Linda, I hear the words in my heart, pray for me, which leads into a part of Catholic 101. We're going to talk a little bit about why do we believe we should pray for those who have died and gone on before us. Remind me to get into that, not right now, but we do want to get into that before this show's over with and explain that. Before I go on any further, Patrick, what were you wanting to share with us? You have something to share with us since you've been gone.
Yes, I do, and it relates to what you brought up at the beginning, which is this week has been a busy week in New York with the UN Foundation meetings and the Clinton Foundation meetings. The indigenous rights activists, labor unions, and religious leaders were the main organizers of the public rally that happened in New York with some 500,000 people about that showed up because creation care is an important focus now. And in watching, you mentioned also watching the signs at the multi-faith gathering that they had, summit on Sunday. The at St. John's Cathedral, they invited Chief Arvel Lookinghorse of the Lakota people to give the opening invocation, and he mentioned very briefly the white buffalo, and this is one of the signs that had been promised in their tradition, noting that a particular time had arrived, and that our action together, but also our inner life and our transformation in our relationship with God, was what would guide us through a time of many, many challenges. And so I thought that this was, there's a lot of rhetoric and other things that happened this week, but to me, there was a influence of spirituality and the cooperation among the different religious leaders and the honoring of signs such as white buffalo, which is a miracle, as the foundation for all of the other earth changes and our concern about that and our need for social reform. I thought that there was a spiritual influence to everything that was happening this week, and I was very glad to see it, and I wanted to share it with all of you.
Thanks, Patrick.
That's so. Thank you. Thank you for being here again, and that you followed when God said show up. You showed up. Thank you for doing that, because I didn't know for sure how God was going to put this together, but when you said that, it really helped me to go forth with what we want to talk about, and that's having our eyes open and being prepared and being ready to continue on with this 100-mile journey that we're going to be on within the next few years. You said something about, and if you can repeat it again, I hope about how that being connected to God is how we're going to make it through this time.
Yeah, hold on to your rope.
The idea is that all of the economic rehabilitation and social reforms, that'll all happen. But first what happens is authentic spiritual nourishment. We need to have a hearty meal with God. And
Amen.
When we do, then all of the other things follow, which is why I'm so impressed by the religious leaders and the indigenous people coming together and leading in this public rally, because it has the spiritual influence behind it. It's not just, the earth is changing or something. We have duties to each other and to the earth, but from a spiritual perspective.
And Patrick, may I ask, was there anything particular that the Vatican said, or with ex cathedra, so to speak? Ex cathedra, or was there a communication from Francis?
Desmond Tutu, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, published an article in The Guardian, giving his opening blessing or invocation for people to, in the Spirit, come together, and that will be the cure for what ails us as society.
Right.
The other magazines reported more or less that there's a friend in Pope Francis for these concern for creation care, as they're calling it. They call it creation care. I love that label, creation care.
Nice alliteration.
Mm-hmm. And so they were. There was a lot of the green lit Brazilian Jesus, the statue in Brazil. A few years ago, it had been lit up all in green, and they were recycling that picture, the green Christ, and so there was some presence there.
Okay, listening to you talk about this group of people, and I'm thinking about the UN and the president talking. I'm thinking about a group of men there talking about their hopes and their solutions and what we think we ought to do and how we should handle this. And I know the president said, and I can't say it verbatim, but I know he said that if we would just join together against this evil and eradicate it, demean them and kill them or put them back or whatever, eradicate this evil, then we can have a hope for a bright future. He was talking about how he still sees a bright future for America and the world. And it meant the world coming together. And to me, though, and then over here you have the people talking about doing things in a way with their spiritual part and God, and putting God in it, in other words. And this is how we can have the change that we need and the hope that we need. And your gathering is the one that really gives hope. I listen to these others, and I'm going, you're clueless because you do not realize something. You don't realize that there is a war going on that's a spiritual war, that prophecy is being fulfilled, and there's only one way you can change that, or you can get hope out of this whole entire situation, and it comes from the words of God himself, and this is out of the Old Testament, and I'm just going to sing the song that the words say, if my people would seek my face and turn away from all their wicked ways, then I will hear them and move my hand, and freely then will I forgive, and I will heal their land. That's from the Old Testament. And I don't know for sure the scripture quote and verse on that, but this is the way that we will have change. And I said something on Facebook about what we're talking about today, and one person, another Elizabeth, came back with the same thing, and that's basically it has to change comes first with each individual, and how we have to, forgive and realize that we have to walk with God. And otherwise, if you don't look at yourself first, then the rest of the world is never going to, you can't expect the rest of the world to change unless you're first. You are first in getting the change. And so your group over there in New York was essentially saying this, weren't they?
Yes.
How important it was that we have to get ourselves lined up with God.
That's absolutely right.
If we're going to make it through this time.
It's the spiritual foundation and the influence behind all of the other expression of the people out in the streets and all of the displays that they were doing that I thought was important and is what God wants of us in this time.
Yeah, and the politics and hypocrisy is mostly for comedy and entertainment.
Well, it's sad, though. It doesn't make me laugh when I see what our leaders are saying and doing and thinking that they're the cure-all for the cure-all. And and just to say, and of course he would never be listening to this show, I doubt seriously, but Mr. President, just to say God bless America is not going to get it. If we have to understand and realize that through all out of Judeo-Christian lives, the message has come strong of obey, keep my word. If you don't, face the consequences. And we all know what the consequences are. And if you don't, read the prophets, I'll tell you. But he just literally says, I have to come and take care of business. I have to punish. I have to do what I have to do to clean the evil out of the world, but I'll take care of my people, and then I will restore. That's the reason I know without a doubt that we are not talking about the end of the world. We're talking about Jesus coming again to restore and once more heal the land. Before we started this show, I was in prayer, and I said, Lord, is there a word you want to speak? And this is immediately the reply was, forsake me not. Forsake me not. When you choose not to forgive, you choose to forsake my words. Forsake me not. My love is so great for you, it wounds my heart each time I see yours hurting. It wounds his heart to see ours hurting. And for us to hold on to that which will continue to wound us and wound our heart, it wounds his heart to see this. So forsake not my words, forsake me not. There's truth in that. And of course it's truth. God's speaking, I'm sorry. Okay, Yard. It's not the Bible I'm quoting from, so some people out there may feel like, excuse me, how do you know that was God speaking? I know. Listen to the words, forsake me not. When you choose not to forgive, you choose to forsake my words. forsake